All right, so for this deep dive, we're getting into you have these amazing ideals of liberty.
Universal ideals.
Universal ideals, yeah, but they're being built right alongside the institutionalization of chattel slavery.
Exactly. The two things exist at the same time, and that's the conflict we really have to unpack.
So where do the sources tell us to start?
Well, the sources we're looking at argue that to truly get this, you have to center the conversation on foundational Black Americans or FBA.
We should be really specific about that term.
We should. It's a specific lineage-based designation. We're talking about the, over 43 million direct descendants of the formerly enslaved in the U.S.
Okay, so focusing on that group's experience, and the thesis that comes out of that focus is, wow, it's a massive claim.
It's a huge claim.
It basically says this is the only group with a consistent centuries-long track record of identifying and fighting the actual infrastructure of global systemic racism.
And that in doing so, they've acted as a kind of moral vanguard for the whole republic.
Okay, so if that's the claim, we have to define the target. What do the sources mean by systemic racism?
Yeah.
Not just prejudice.
No, not at all. Not just personal bias. The sources define it as a whole, an infrastructure.
An infrastructure.
Yeah, of, covert rulings, ordinances, and deep-seated cultural attitudes, all established by a sovereign government.
And it shows up everywhere. Our economy, politics, education.
It's woven into the fabric of society.
So if the system itself is the problem, you can't just tinker with it. You have to change the very foundation.
That's precisely why the sources point so directly to the Reconstruction Amendment.
The 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Yes.
Yeah. The argument is that the FBA struggle was the catalyst for the single biggest systemic overhaul in U.S. history. This wasn't remodeling the house.
No, this was tearing it down to the studs and re-engineering the actual contract.
The constitutional contract itself.
Yeah.
And the 14th Amendment is the absolute key because it establishes equal citizenship and directly overturns that horrific 1857 Dred Scott ruling.
The one that said Black Americans had, and I'm quoting, no rights which the white man was bound to respect.
Just a devastating ruling.
And the 14th Amendment struck that down. That required relentless ingenuity.
You mean in the fight itself?
Absolutely. I mean, just think of the Underground Railroad.
Right. That wasn't just a series of accidents.
Not at all. It was a high-level organized network of widespread civil disobedience, people using disguises, forgeries, all against the nation's primary economic system.
Which was chattel slavery. And then much later, you see that strategic mindset with nonviolence.
Exactly. It was a disciplined tactic designed specifically to expose the system's brutality.
To maintain the moral high ground and force the federal government to act.
Right. And this systemic focus is why their fight is framed as the blueprint. Other groups often fought for inclusion within the structure as it was.
But this was different.
It was a fight against the constitutional caste system itself. They had to rebuild the structure, not just ask for a room in it.
How do the sources illustrate that difference?
They draw a pretty sharp contrast with, for instance, the Chicano movement. A vital movement, but its goals largely centered on inclusion within the existing framework.
Okay.
The sources cite the LULAC national president in 1957, Felix Tijerina, who reportedly declared, "Let the Negro fight his own battles. His problems are not mine."
And that reflected a whiteness strategy some leaders used to try and legally get around segregation laws.
Exactly. Leveraging the existing structures rather than forcing a fundamental rewrite of the nation's core legal texts.
Which is what the FBA struggle ultimately did. And that systemic focus, it didn't just stay in the U.S., did it?
Not at all. It went global. Leaders drew these direct moral parallels between Jim Crow and, say, apartheid in South Africa.
Putting pressure on U.S. foreign policy.
Immense pressure. It influenced things like sanctions and really contributed to that global wave of decolonization after 1945.
So when you boil it all down, what's the ultimate takeaway here?
The conclusion from the sources is that this unwavering commitment to systemic justice winds up yielding benefits for every single American.
It drives the democratic maturity of the whole country.
It really does. But I think the final, most profound thought they leave you with is about the nature of the patriotism behind it.
How so?
It's framed as a powerful, conditional patriotism. It's a loyalty not to the nation's flawed reality.
Due to its unfulfilled promise?
Precisely. A loyalty that compels the republic toward its own democratic redemption.